Hey folks, welcome to episode 10. That's 10 of Podshots. I don't think we ever thought we were going to get this far, but we're really excited that you're here to listen to this episode. We have a special guest joining us today, the first time someone else has come on our show, and that guest is Jennifer Lee. Jen Lee, she has her own podcast called Jen Unfiltered, which you can find on all the popular platforms, including Spotify. And she's also a product designer, an entrepreneur, and a dancer as well. And she's got tons of questions for us about what men think about women. On this episode, we're going to get grilled by Jen. We really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think a lot of the stuff that we covered was very helpful and insightful. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, then I think you're going to love this episode. Again, thanks so much for being here. We hope you enjoy the show.
Well, it looks like Zoom talks to us now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that with the new update?
I think so. I'm not sure.
This whole thing has probably gone through a massive evolution since the beginning of this lockdown anyway. They've been running around like they did in NASA when the Apollo spacecraft was going through problems. That's what Zoom headquarters probably looked like.
Well, they're making a ton of money right now. They're making a ton of fucking money. So they're probably developing like crazy, patching everything, putting out new updates, because they keep telling me to update mine by May 30th because they got a new encryption for it. I don't know what they're doing, but I also saw for their webinars that they do, they allow you to now do paid webinars. So you can monetize your Zoom if you have a lot of people on. I don't know. They added a lot of features in the last month, which is cool. So I'm very happy about.
It's a good time to be a tech entrepreneur right now for communications, man.
It's a good time to be a tech entrepreneur in any field right now.
Yeah.
Sit at home, code from your computer, eat some Twinkies and drink Monkey 47. You don't really have to do much. You don't have to go anywhere. It's the life, that computer science life. Shit.
Yeah. Actually, my life has been so different, from a lot of the friends that I grew up with, just because I got involved with internet marketing. And there's been times when people have we've talked about this in the past, when my friends have said, how do you do what you do? How do you travel all the time? And, that kind of thing. And I think it's actually becoming quite common now to see, at least in hotspots around the world, just young people traveling around for their living, just working from cafes and enjoying that kind of freedom.
Yeah.
It's not
I think we talked about that on one of the podcasts before.
Yeah.
Society is kind of set up in a way that's very easy for people to get by doing the most minimal amount. And I know this is happening a lot now. San Francisco. So Jen, you've probably seen some of it. And it's happening in Medellin and kind of just started in Silicon Valley. And they just have this whole millennial minimal life mindset, but you can live reasonably well off of a very minimal amount of money. For yourself, depending on how you set up your life, how you're living. Did you buy a house? Did you retrofit a shipping container into an apartment? Are you buying locally? Are you going right to the farm? All the different methods for living are just changing depending on what it is, or what generation you're in, or what you're interested in, or whatever you're desiring. Obviously,
do you think people are becoming more frugal? Because
more frugal, more minimal.
Yeah.
Spending less money.
You're on the West Coast, right, Jen?
Yeah, I'm in LA right now.
It is. How are things with the younger generation there? Do you think, at the moment, in terms of their mindset, their outlook on life, and opportunity wise, and I don't know, are they changing the way they?
In terms of the pandemic?
Yeah, I guess so as well. Yeah.
I think they're quite as paranoid as I thought. They wouldn't really leave the house. As far as I know, with all the apartment neighbors out here, they don't really leave. They just stay at home and do whatever they want. I don't see I do now see a lot of people, because some places are starting to open, like the beach and the hiking spots, but I don't really see much going on out there.
Are they getting out and about now? I know that they opened up some spots, so...
Yeah, they opened up some beach. I think Laguna Beach is kind of open, I think, because I went there last time, and I think they closed down the the sand area. You just can like walk around with your mask on, but you cannot like lay around or sunbathe. You just, do your exercise, but that's it.
Yeah, it's not like that here. You go outside, you're getting a big fucking ticket. Like you can't do anything
Really?
like your day to go outside. Very strict about it.
Yeah.
They might let up on it a little bit by the end of the month, by like the 30th or something. But they extended the health emergency all the way to my birthday in August.
What's up?
So international flights are going to be really restricted until August.
Shit.
I know.
Oh, no. Well,
We'll see. We have no idea. They might open that stuff back up earlier if things get better. But now,
no arepa for me until August.
yeah. Well, you're planning coming September anyway, so
Yeah, it was kind of like a worst case scenario. Have you ever been to Colombia, Jen?
Nope. He's trying to encourage me to go. So
Yeah, you should go. You should go.
Ooh,
I
I'm
am
trying.
It's a fantastic place. I was just making a joke that I'm not going to have like an arepa, which is like one of their. It's almost like a tortilla, but it's thicker, and you have it for things like breakfast, I think. So.
Yeah. They have their own cheese too. I don't remember what the cheese itself is called, or a chocolate cheese or whatever. You take the arepa and there's like this cheese that goes on top of the arepa, and it's really fucking good. And then they have the tortillas or the arepas with queso, different just regular cheese instead of the softer white cheese. You can get it with eggs. You can get it with just about anything. It's so good and so cheap.
You can tell you're really passionate about this.
I'm so passionate about it. Like I want to go buy some right now.
So what are we talking about today?
Jen, what are we going to talk about? Actually, wait, should we hold on, Jen? Don't say anything at all. Clement, shouldn't we introduce her to our audience?
We should, Brandon.
Or
let's do that, Brandon. Since I don't know Jen that well.
Okay, audience and plus Clement. This is Jen. Jen, this is Clement and our audience. Jen is from LA. She studies product design. She is a dancer. She is awesome. And she has a lot of knowledge. And she is the new host of a brand new podcast, Jen Unfiltered.
Nice.
She is very unfiltered, Clement. Very. And
I get more weird as the night progresses. Like during the day, I'm like really tired, but then at night, I go crazy.
Yep. So Jen, I just hyped you up. Now you got to live up to the expectations of being unfiltered.
Let's do this. Let's drink first.
Yeah. Speaking of which, today we're going to be sampling and not drinking the entire bottle of Monkey 47.
Oh, hell no.
Yes, we will be drinking Monkey 47 gin for this episode. It is 47% alcohol, 7% more than the commercial standard. It is a Schwarzwald dry gin, and there's a little monkey on the front carrying like a leaf. So this is going to be some crazy aromatic shit. So
yeah, it's apparently one of the most complex gins made, and it's from Germany apparently.
Ooh, that's
got a lovely cork at the top.
That smells like like a organic air freshener.
It does.
It does.
With some
47 different
essential oils.
I
God.
don't know how
Smells
much.
like essential oil cocktail.
Smells beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead, and I went ahead and I got myself a glass.
Is that a cherry? Is that a cherry?
With cherries in them.
Okay.
So I'm going to be making a cherry cocktail. I know, because look, we do shots every single episode.
We do.
And this is the kind of drink that I feel like I should at least try to enjoy this one on this episode,
Yes,
So,
Clement's going to do the job of enjoying it. I'm going to do the job of eating it. Yeah, and Jen's going to do the job of keeping up with the ride. And my chaser is a Four Loko.
Which one?
Four Loko. That's my chaser. So I'm going really hard tonight. Extra alcohol.
My chaser is cranberry mango juice.
Nice. Good.
Mine is I got some soda water, so I'm going all out on this episode, you know.
Lemon's getting fancy.
I'm getting fancy on this. I don't usually get fancy, but let's do it.
Okay, let me know when you got that poured. I'm good to go. I know I'm going to hate this because I don't like gin.
There's also another good excuse is that it's 6 a.m. here in the UK. So if you can imagine me like doing a third of a bottle of this and then going about my business.
Well, it's about midnight here. So by the time this episode is done, I'm probably going to pass out really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Jen and I might be completely passed out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clement will
All right,
be
I am good to go.
All right. Ready?
Mm.
3, 2, 1. Tink.
Cheers.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow. That's an interesting taste. That's priceless. That look on your face and the look on mine is just like,
So the topic of discussion for this episode is things women want to know about what men or what women want to ask men. I don't know. Jen, what are we doing?
What females want to should know about men in a relationship, maybe, or when being single. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Because for my episode, I made it in a relationship. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do either. We should do probably both.
Both.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that earlier and I was like, it might be a bit like one-sided if we just do it one way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I
Totally.
did like combine both as being a single girl and a relationship type of girl. So I didn't
Yeah.
format. So
Well, I know, Jen, you got a bunch of questions for us from a woman's perspective on men. So Clement and I can ask you the same thing.
That's a
Man's
lot.
perspective on women.
yeah, I
Maybe.
did my
We'll
research.
see. We might fire back. We might play some tennis with you.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to represent the woman out there, you know. So
Okay. You're representing all the women. We're representing all the men.
all right.
So,
Come on, woman. Let's go.
well, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Let's dive into it.
I asked a couple people on my Instagram saying like what you want to know about men, and I'm just gonna answer 2 of them because I only had 2 people asking questions. The first question is, does a confident woman who speaks up about feminism and has a strong mindset make men uncomfortable or push them away?
Both.
Yeah, I think it depends really. You go ahead, Brennan, and I'll follow.
If we're talking about feminism, and I have no problem with feminism. Now, with that said, it does get taken a little too far quite often, especially in the US. And for a man, that definitely pushes you away. That definitely makes you not want to interact with that kind of a person or that group of people. Why? Because they always preach about how masculinity is toxic and awful and how men don't do enough and women are just better than men. And that's where I draw a line. Like it's fine for like to promote feminism and promotes, equality, men, women being equal. Like I agree with all that. That should be pushed. There's some issues there. But saying that a woman is more superior to a man, or even a man saying he's more superior to a woman, is just wrong. So when a feminist takes it too far, I think that's when, as a guy, you're like, okay, I'm going to walk this way and we're not going to make eye contact and I'm just going to stick with the gin. Yeah. So
What?
Every time.
yeah.
You're just going to stick with gin or Jen?
Feminists sometimes make me want to drink. I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean,
they go overboard.
you'd have to be there really to know how to react, like, because there's different levels of that kind of mentality. And I mean, let's face it, it hasn't been the easiest for the female side of our species, right?
Right.
So there's obviously a lot of kind of collective angst there that women feel towards men that manifests itself in different types of ways. But I would say, I think that there is a toxic masculinity. I just don't think it is as I think that there's a certain type of woman that's very hurt that would probably, see that more,
Right.
more. I don't know what's wrong with my vocabulary this morning, but I think it'd be more widespread for them. Like they would probably see it more widespread than it actually is. And Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. He talks about toxic masculinity and the real examples of it and where it doesn't actually really exist. And I think on both sides of the spectrum, like you've got the male kind of extreme view of seeing the world, and you've got the female extreme view of seeing the world. And I think it's just trying to find a balance in there somewhere, trying to moderate those conversations and make them a little bit more real based on facts and discussion as well. Like, yeah.
It really depends on the person and the place, because I mean, the college I went to, you got to remember, was very, very liberal in Claremont, California, very liberal. So if I held a door open for a girl, like just held open a door, she would get mad at me because I'm treating her like she's incapable of opening the door.
Did that happen a lot?
Yeah, all the time, all the time. Like I understand the whole, toxic masculinity idea. Like, sure, there's certain aspects of being a man that might, I guess you could say, are toxic. That's fine. We can talk about that. I'm open to anything. But saying that masculinity itself is toxic, which is what they do, is just wrong. You're just telling men that, being feminine is the only way to go. Being masculine is wrong. In my opinion, being masculine, if you're doing it right, is being a gentleman. That's what you should aim for. That should be the standard for all men. Be a gentleman. That's been a man code for a very, very long time. It's just some guys in our day and age they don't follow that. They're just assholes. Fuck boys. As Jen likes to call
it's important. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry to jump in again, but I feel like there's a neglect of the responsibilities of the man these days somehow, in many ways. Like you just said, there's this kind of code of being a gentleman, of being a real man, like a real strong man. But that doesn't mean you're the extreme masculine guy. It just means that you have this code of ethics and you have this way of living your life, and you uphold certain standards. And I think that we've kind of veered away from that over time somehow. And it's like when you try to assign a role to a guy, and it's almost like it. I'm going to say something controversial. If you were to put a man in this is pretty controversial, and I'll try and back it up if I need to. But like if you were to take a man away from, let's say, doing hard labor or working, letting his mind go free on projects that he wants to do, and like kind of having that kind of self-driven passion for things that are masculine inherently. Like you were to make him just be in charge of daycare for the rest of his life for kids, right? That would be nice. It would be fulfilling from a certain perspective. But I feel like men are geared in certain ways. They're built in certain ways. And when you take that aspect away from them, when you take that ability away from them, then I think that's when you start to see toxic masculinity. You start to see insecurity come through. You start to see resentment come through because they're not able to express themselves the way they would normally. And I think it's the same for women the other way around. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but.
Oh no, I totally discussed this in my podcast where I said that male have a tendency to, I would say, create a solution to any problems out there rather than empathizing for a woman's opinions or whatever she's going through. And then women, on the other hand, we tend to rant or blare out anything that comes into our head. And although we do want to find solutions to the problem, we do also want you guys to understand us and have feelings or some sort of emotions toward us, because we would think that you guys don't really care about where we're coming from rather than just solving the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I discussed. But what do you guys think of that? Because I find a lot of guys in my life who have not really empathized over my problems in life.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys around our age. I know, Clement, you're a little bit outside the 20 zone, but you're involved. You're there. You're right there. You're young. You look young. You're with us. You're with us.
I'm with those guys over there. Hey, come on. I'm with them.
You're with the cool kids. I'd have to say a lot of men that, around our age, I think it just has a lot to do with how they grow up and what they see in pop culture and on TV. And I don't think that they're bred to really empathize with women generally, on a personal level when they get into like a relationship. I don't know. I think a lot of guys struggle with that. And I see it with all my friends, when they jump into a relationship. So I think it's just a generational thing. I think guys, and there's not every guy is terrible. Not every guy is a complete dickhead. But I think a lot of guys learn that stuff through trial and error, especially when they're younger. They're more outgoing, carefree, and they don't really, I don't know. This is from my perspective. And maybe Clement has a different view on it, but.
Yeah, it's trial and error for sure, especially at that age range when you're just starting, to have serious relationships. I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, Jim, but like definitely the college towards the mid 20s, like is when a lot of trial and error happens, and it happens even after that too. And I mean, I'm 37 years old, right? So I've been in a bunch of different relationships. Some have been 5 years long, some have been 1 year long. And even now, like, you still make mistakes, and I'm single right now, but I mean, my last relationship was last September. It ended. And there's a bunch of societal challenges that get in the way of having a couple that can freely communicate and freely work out their issues together and be aligned, in terms of their life goals and things like that. But at the same time, like, I always tell people this when they ask me about, I mean, because, I've got friends that are in relationships or just starting to get into, a relationship with someone. They ask me, why is it like so hard? Why is it like this? Why is it like that? And I'm like, well, look, to a certain degree, men need to get things out of their system before they're really ready to settle down and commit. And it doesn't mean they can't do that. It just means that there's still that kind of, it's almost like they want to explore a frontier and they don't want anything to hold them back. But at the same time, they want to have a family, and they want to, there's a lot of pressure from our culture to have, like, this, that, and the other by the time you're this age. But there's not a lot on the other side, which is like, you got to do, whatever you need to do to get your system ready so that you can have a stable family. And this is how you do it. There's not a lot about that. So it's kind of like a contradiction in terms when you try to force a young person into a long-term relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're very desensitized too, like compared to someone from the 1800s on the pioneer trail who would, have sex with his wife and then leave for months on end, only to receive a letter maybe a few months later, and that's about it. And then I feel like the dynamics for a relationship were much more different back then compared to now, where it's like you can have a full-on relationship completely over the internet, by text, by phone call, by Zoom, by FaceTime, and not have to see that person for a long time. And, we bitch and complain about long distance relationships being hard, but imagine how it was back then. Imagine how much more they had to, interact and empathize with their partner and, really bonds to like hold on to each other. Whereas now it's like, you're so inundated with all this stimulus and all these other women and men, whatever you're into. And just like, I don't know. I just feel everyone's very desensitized with the internet. So I think that has to play into a little bit of the empathy problem.
What do you think, Jen?
But I feel like now that I'm thinking back, I feel like at the end of the day, it all comes down to knowing about yourself, because women, like, they tend to, talk of their problems to their man, and if their man cannot, somehow solve the problem or even empathize, I think at the end of the day, the woman should manage to be independent and kind of cope with her own problems, because I had to deal with that a lot, because I'm kind of just used to men just not really empathizing a lot. So I think women definitely need to play a part in that, where they need to adjust and learn to be independent for themselves.
Yeah. I think I am actually really attracted to independent women. There's something very powerful about being in a relationship with someone that is as capable, if not more, than you when it comes to, like being the head of a family, and someone who can challenge you on an ongoing basis and help you grow. So I'm really attracted to that. But there is a side of me, and I'll be honest with you, where my ego is quite, bashed when maybe they would do things better than me. And I feel like it's the role of the man, right? And I think most men feel that way, some more than others. And I've heard stories from friends and people that I've met along the way, women that are super, super effective entrepreneurs and business owners. And they would say, and they've been divorced because in their words, I wasn't able to talk to the guy, but it's because their partner just couldn't seem to handle the fact that they were making more money than they were, or, they were just having more success than they were. And I can understand that. I don't think it's right. I think it needs to change, but it's going to be a long road, because we do have very specific gender roles assigned. And it can be difficult for both sexes, I think, to kind of get around that. Men particularly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. What's the next question, Jen? What do we got next on the list?
All right.
I can feel this going into my bloodstream.
When's shot 2 coming up? Should we wait a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Someone asked on my Instagram, what makes a girl, quote unquote, girlfriend material versus a girl who's just a fling?
What makes a girlfriend material?
Or someone who's just a fling?
I think that has a lot to do on the preference of the guy.
Right.
We were kind of talking about women being independent and that being something appealing or not appealing to men. In my opinion, if I saw a woman that was very independent, she handled her shit, it'd be attractive to me. Like, I love women that are like that, because then you don't have to take care of them all the time. It's not like you have to subsidize their entire life. Like, I don't want to do that in a relationship. Like, if I wanted a baby, I'd just go have a baby. Like, I'm not going to take care of someone like they're a little baby. Like, I don't mind, treating a girl. I don't mind,
some men like that,
wanting to do that.
Some men actually really like that.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, I don't want a girl asking me for stuff. I don't want a girl asking me, can I have money for this? Can I go do that? Will you pay for this? Please, please, please. I've been there. I don't want to do that. And it's something also very attractive about a girl that wants to compete with you in a friendly way too. Like, not like they're trying to be the one with the balls in the relationship, but, like showing that they work just as hard as you, they make just as much money as you, or they're just as passionate as you about something. And they have their own life outside of just the relationship. I don't know. To me, there's something very attractive about that, because it shows that woman's going to go somewhere no matter what, with or without me. I like that. There's something attractive about it. I don't like women that are clingy, that just cling on to you 24/7. It's like, do you have anything else to do? Like,
yeah.
I got things to do. Like, my goodness, can we be mature? So I don't know. I think it really depends on the guy. In terms of things that would make a girl not like dating material, I think it has a lot to do with where the mindset of the guy is at the time. Like, how young is he? Is he experienced in being in a relationship? Is he still in college? Does he have all this outside influence and pressure from his friends and from other women? I think that has a lot to do with it. And then, what kind of vibe is the woman putting off? Does the woman actually want something serious? Is she also looking to just hook up as well? Is that just her thing at the moment? Like girls in college are a lot like that. So I don't see a lot of girls in college jump into a relationship very quickly. They want to experiment. They know it's a time for them to make a mistake and, then forget about it and have a normal life. Guys,
that's a very mature outlook, I think. When women are kind of like, hey, well, I'm not like trying to get in a relationship with you, I just want to see what's out there, and not get committed too early or whatever. But for me, confidence goes a long way. So if a woman is, confident enough in herself that, she doesn't need to make our interaction positive, like she doesn't need any kind of outcome from the conversation with me, then that's already a good start. Because if someone's trying too hard, you can really kind of pick that up straight away. And it kind of shows desperation. And I think from both sides, right? Like if a man's just like going all out trying to get this woman, maybe that's nice for some women. They like to feel that way, but I don't think it sets the tone for a stable kind of, beginning of a relationship. But so confidence is a big one. And, things like being able to have a sense of humor as well, right. Not being too rigid and being able to take the piss out of themselves or be cheeky enough to like poke jokes at you. I think that's nice. I think what people have problems with maybe is just getting a balance of where do I kind of draw the line right. with this kind of behavior. So where do I draw the line with humor? Where do I draw the line with confidence? Because you don't want to be like, you don't want to be like imposing on someone. I mean, it might be too suffocating. And I've had that a few times. And I think the answer to that is, and I'm just trying to be as helpful as possible, but I think the answer to that is just to be really aware of what's happening in the conversation, like how are they responding to you, and just having a proper think about it before you kind of get, take it to the next step and the next step. And that's not it's not a scientific thing by any means. It's like, it's very difficult sometimes to gauge it, especially if you're just typing online, or on your phone, and you can't see the other person because they might be joking, but they're not. So it really depends on a number of factors. But overall, I'd say I really like women that are able to hold their own, against you and really kind of challenge you in many ways. I like that.
I think one more thing I'd add is women that play games with guys. And I don't know if that's just comes from age or experience, lack of experience or whatever, or bad experiences, but a lot of women play games with guys. And if you're a good guy and
what kind of games have you been playing with you? Tennis, football, rugby?
I was thinking golf, because I'm not very good at golf, so that ruined my ego. But no, like I think there are a lot of good guys out there. I think there's a lot of guys that strive to be a gentleman, to be a good man, and they end up with women that are, maybe they're ambitious, maybe they're good looking, but I mean, personality wise, they like to play games with you. They want you to chase them. They'll push you away just to see if you chase them, or they'll want to feel more wanted, or they'll want more, and they'll just do all kinds of things that end up stressing you out. And as a guy, it pushes you away and makes you less attractive to her over time. So, I mean, as a girl, if you want to be girlfriend material, don't do things that push him away. If all you're looking is for a hookup, fine, do whatever you want, play games. But I mean, if you want something serious and he sees he wants something serious with you and he's taking it serious, don't fuck with him. Just be honest with what you want and open up. I know it's hard for some people to do, but the last thing you want to do is play games, because then that's just not going to help you out. And I think a lot of guys are starting to catch on to that and learn that now. And I think a lot of girls are getting upset about it when they shouldn't be playing the game in the first place. Just be honest with what you want. I think people would be more surprised, how things turn out if you're just honest, and then you find out maybe that's not what they want, or maybe that is what they want. rather than playing these head games and not being clear with the other person. Men can be guilty of that too, I guess, but women do it a lot.
What would you say is the boundary? Because sometimes girls would mention to guys like, oh, I only want a serious relationship. And once their first date happens, things start to go beyond like, you know, sex, something like far beyond that you would do on a first date. Would you consider that maybe a red flag to girls, or is it something that you believe that it just happens naturally and it shouldn't really bother any of the two of you?
For a girl, I'd say that if a guy is showing you a lot of attention and he's going out of his way to make it clear that he's interested in you, well, that doesn't happen very often with a guy. A guy doesn't do that very often. So don't play with him.
Like, what do you mean? It happens all the time, I think.
No.
I mean, LA guys do that all the time.
No, if a guy is...
If a guy really likes a girl and he wants
to... He'll make it very clear. If he likes someone, he'll make it very clear. But a lot of girls will take advantage of that, and they'll know.
I mean, there's a whole industry though about like picking up women, right? And
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And you could pull out like 10, 15 tricks. I don't actually like the pickup artist industry, but you could pull out 10 tricks and maybe you'd have some success, but those 10 tricks all together wouldn't look like the woman would be like, oh my God, this guy is like amazing. And so I would say
there's a lot of women that want to be picked up by guys though. Like if we're talking about women and men that want to be in a relationship that aren't looking for, you know, just a hookup. And then that's, I think, where my opinion applies. Like, I mean, if a guy is just trying to hook up with a girl, or a girl just wants to hook up and she doesn't want anything serious, and then, well, shit, they can do whatever the hell they want. I mean, it's not going to last very long anyways, right?
But what if like the girl's mindset is just to be in a serious relationship, but it just ended up happening, you know, the whole not hooking up, but probably sex on the first date or stuff like that.
I personally feel like women shouldn't put out on the first date if they want to have a long-term relationship. I think it's just a big mistake. Yeah. And I'm saying that at my own risk right now, because I know people will be listening to this later. So, but no, seriously though, I really don't think it's a good idea. I think there's such a powerful force in like being resilient when it comes to allowing access to your body. Right. For a woman, because that's showing the man he needs to work harder. You know, he needs to, and then once the man's realized he's put in all this work, he's like, actually, I should probably hang around, right? You know, on a certain level. I'm not saying that's exactly what he's thinking, but there's a subconscious kind of, maybe there's a conscious, but there's definitely a subconscious kind of like, I like this girl because I've put my time and investment in, and now I enjoy it more. So that's just what I think. I don't think they should put out on the first date. So
basically you want a girl to be mysterious in a way. Like, oh, I want to know about this girl even more.
The smart side of me does. And then the dumb side of me is like,
Yeah. Okay. I think men and women like mysterious men and women. I think that works either way.
Yeah.
It's attractive. You get interested. You want to know more about that person. Like it's a secret. Like it's a...
And yeah, I agree. Like sex kind of like gives everything away from that person. So yeah, it's what else to expect after that, right? So
yeah. True.
I think it shows someone's more interested when they hold back the first time and don't, jump into consensual relations of any kind.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you have more control, right? You have control of saying, no, I don't want this to happen. Like, let's get to know each other.
And again, like, isn't that all? I think that's all about being comfortable with yourself. And knowing that no matter what happens with that person, whether they come back or not, you're still going to be fine. So you've got the confidence to kind of like be able to say no. Right. Whereas if you don't have the confidence and you really want to be in a relationship so bad that you're willing to do whatever it takes, then you might put out on the first date and you might kind of, throw it away, so to speak.
All right. Well, that actually answered another question, but great.
Awesome.
Knocking them down in twos.
Two birds with one stone.
Do you think that your partner's physical attractiveness is far more important to men than it is to women? Or do you think it's equal in a way?
Good question.
So do you think attractiveness is more important to men than to women?
Yes.
Physical
attractiveness.
Physical attractiveness.
Yeah.
I think that I'll let Clement go first. Let me think about this one. I don't know if it's true or not.
Ooh, that's nice. I don't think it's true, but I think that men get away with it more than women in terms of just being there, and not bothering too much. And I'm not entirely sure. It's a good question because it's making me think about it. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think
it has a lot to do with the way we think, because men are very simple in the way we think. Women are very complicated. So I think men in general, they prioritize that naturally. I don't necessarily think it's something that they do inherently or not, or want to do or don't want to do. But men just, naturally, when they see a beautiful girl walk by, they notice the beautiful girl. They can't help it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I figured it out. I think women are much more geared to look for long term. And I think men are much more geared to kind of like look for that short term. And I think, that's just the nature of the way the sexes work. But I
think that has a lot to do with evolution too. Because before morality and before we had society and ethics, it was the job of the male to spread. It was the job of the woman to have a child, just way, way, way back, like just evolutionary. That's how, evolution works. So I think that has a lot to do with our mindset even today. I think it's just innate in some ways. I think men just innately prioritize it. It's not that it's the most important thing to all men. I think some women prioritize looks just as much as a man does too. In some ways, I've seen women like eyeball men when they have a nice ass walking down the street, or when some guy takes his shirt off. I've seen a group of women eyeball him.
Next to you? What's going on?
You haven't caught me looking at you yet.
So I would say women are, I think that's true. And I think women definitely appreciate physical attractiveness just as much as men. But I've met women who are like, and I'm probably sure men are like this. Some men are like this, but I think there's a lot of women out there who are kind of not really into the whole male chiseled physique. And I think, probably because it says fuck boy written all over it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, hang on, that doesn't line up with the idea I have of a guy that's going to be helping me raise my kid. And it can be, I think, there's the whole dad bod thing, right? These trends that pop up. And
Yeah. But if you see a girl that has like a really great body, do you ever think in your head, she may be a slut, or those horrible words that females don't want to hear?
I think in some ways it depends on, as a guy, I think we look at the way they dress and they act to determine if they are a slut or not, which I've even done in the past, and I think is probably not right, because I know a lot of girls just have dressed that way and they're awesome and they're super smart, and they're definitely not. And then I've noticed girls that just, drudge around in sweatpants and they're definitely sluts. So I don't think it's fair to judge based on what they wear, their personality that much, but I think for a guy, that's kind of what we look at.
But going back to the question, what if it's the case that you're really good friends with the female? Maybe you didn't look at her physical looks first, but you mainly looked at her personality. Let's say maybe you guys are starting to get serious. Do you ever consider looking at her physical features when it comes to that? Or do you just care only about the personality?
I mean, of course, look at the physical features. I mean, it's not necessarily the most important thing all the time. Okay. But I mean, yeah, of course, we want to be with someone attractive. I mean, that comes with evolution again, because, we're looking for someone with, that's healthy, that takes care of themselves, that prioritizes their body. and that, that shows that they have good genetics, that they have good health, that, if we ever had a child one day, innately, I would know that, our child would also be healthy. I think we look at that innately as like looking at someone's looks, but from an evolutionary perspective, we look at it from a more genetic side of it, and we don't really know.
What if it's a guy who has really high standards?
Well, I was about to say for the previous question, which might help to answer this one, is that attractiveness, physical attractiveness is just one component, though. Like, it's important in varying degrees for people. So my draw towards a future partner, right, not as fling, would be more than just physical looks. Definitely. Like, I have to have someone I know is on the same page as me. And I have to have those things that I mentioned before, which are like confidence, sense of humor. I want to be able to have a joke with this person. I want to be able to like talk to her intellectually about things and be able to get some like challenging ideas and food for thought. And, or, I want to have like kindness and compassion so that I know that whatever day I've had, I can come home and I'm always going to be taken care of. So there's so much more than physical, but like Brandon said, I think from an evolutionary standpoint, like on a subconscious level, we're just super drawn to, physical attractiveness. That's the first stage. But then we've kind of like, we're smart enough to know that there's more things that we need. So now we look for other things too. And I think that when you're looking for a long-term relationship, depending on how much you want the long-term relationship, those different things are all changing their ratio. They're morphing.
For every guy out there that is listening to this, don't put physical attractiveness second. Because everything else that you want in a girl is out there. There's plenty of girls like that, and there are plenty of girls like that are hot. So you should focus on what you want most in a girl, and I guarantee you'll find one that has all of those awesome traits and is also hot, physically attractive. So I wouldn't prioritize that and then end up with someone that you're not happy with in the end. So the physical attractiveness part comes naturally. I don't think people should prioritize it as much as they should what they want.
Okay. Thoughts on PDA? Someone asked that. What do you guys think? PDA.
I think we talked about this a little bit outside the podcast.
Oh, outside.
I'm super into PDA. I do it just to get to people. Like, I'll do it just to provoke people around me. I'll be like, but I don't see the problem with it. I think the problem for me is, and PDA, I guess you have to draw the line, right? So where's the line? I think holding hands, kissing in public. I think I think just being, touchy-feely without being like crude about it, and lewd, it is totally fine. And if you have a problem with that, I would question your upbringing or your environment. Because I think it's just natural to want to do that.
Right.
I think this is where we'll disagree, Clement. I think there's no problem whatsoever with PDA. I have a problem with PDF, personal displays of fucking. So like if you're out there on a public bench and you're just going ham on each other, it's just so annoying. Just go get a room already. Like, my God, like if you're that into it in the moment, just go do it. Go somewhere and do it appropriately. Stop ruining my day in the park. All right. Like if you want to kiss your girlfriend, fine. You want to hold her, fine. Slap her on the ass. I don't care. But if you're really going to get after it, Jesus, go get a cave. Seriously.
I didn't say that though. Like we're agreeing.
Yeah,
we're agreeing, Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely something I wouldn't want to, I don't think I've ever witnessed that, but yeah, I probably wouldn't. You have. Oh,
well, actually, so I was hiking along the beach. It was in, where was it? It was somewhere in the north because I was raised in the Bay Area. And we found a couple down like along the sea or the rocks. And the guy was basically eating her out. And
Right.
yeah. But we were just cheering on. We're like, yeah, go.
Oh, wow.
Go.
Go. And then, yeah, it was interesting. But I guess I agree with Brandon. You do need to get a room for that. We don't need to.
Yeah. I mean, if I was walking by with my future daughter and she's like 5 years old and I saw that, I would run down and I'd work it immediately. Like, I'd be pissed. Like, it kind of depends. I just don't think you do that stuff in public. And I know that's a thing people find attractive and want to do, but just come on, be mature and just go find a room. Get the same pleasure out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or at least be private about it. Please have some decency.
I mean, I guess they were trying to be private. The fact that they were down there, I don't know.
Private and public.
I give them credit. They were trying to be private about it. Some people aren't. Some people are just going ham in public.
Yeah. They also had a blanket too. I think the guy had a blanket over his head just to like make sure stuff wasn't really messy down there.
Could have been part of the play.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
There's a puppet show or something going on in that blanket.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Can a girl and a guy just be friends?
I think so.
Eventually, yes. But at first, no. I've never been in a situation where, especially with myself, where you've tried to be friends with a girl or girls try to be friends with a guy, and one person or the other at some point in time decided that maybe it's something more than friendship. Maybe this is too good. Maybe this is something real. It happens every time. And I think what determines whether or not that guy and girl can be just friends and remain just friends is if they can both, come to terms with that at some point in time. Because one or the other, at least one or the other, is going to start thinking about it. And that's going to ruin the friendship if they don't address it. So can guys and girls be friends? Yes. But that road bump is going to happen. I've seen it happen every single time. Every single time.
Yeah. I think the context is important. So obviously if you're working in an office and you've got like a female colleague and she's in a relationship and you're in a relationship and, I think that's okay. Like you can obviously try, you don't have to work too hard to be friends, but yeah, I think Brandon's on the ball there. But the thing is again, context. I mean, Jesus, I've got tons of female friends, but I'm not attracted to them.
How close are we talking about in terms of friends? Like, are we talking about good old Jenny that works at the office with you and, you have a conversation over some Gatorade at lunch? Or are you talking about like, hey, we go to the movies together and eat chicken wings? Like what kind of friendship are we talking about?
What are the boundaries of that too?
Yeah, I guess so. I think the more a man and a woman do with each other, like if I did all the things with a girl that I do with a guy, or if a girl did all the things with a guy that she does with a girl, I think it'd be impossible. It feels like a relationship, at least to one of them at some point, right?
Yeah.
But why can't they just be friends? I think it has a lot to do with the fact that one's a male and one's a female. And, one thing always leads to another. And eventually someone thinks.
So it's going to go down that road. Yeah. In that context.
Yeah. All right.
But I know once you get over that, I've seen plenty of men and women that are in fantastic relationships and they don't waver from that. You have to get over that initial hump, I guess.
Right. I agree. This is just for the giggles, I would say. How often do you really stalk a girl's social media page?
How often do we stalk a girl's social media page?
Instagram.
I'm going to take a shot first.
All right. I'm going to.
I'll continue to drink my shot.
Okay. I'll wait for Jen here.
All right. I'm ready.
All right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
1,
Cheers.
2.
I've never seen anyone neck Monkey 47. What is it like? Can you feel the flowers coming out of your nose?
Yes. The aftertaste. I don't really like the aftertaste. I think I lost the cork. Hold on.
It's harder than Bombay Gin, right, Brandon?
Mm-hmm. It feels like Freddy Krueger's going back down in your throat, just clawing all the way down and planting flowers as he goes. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just awful. I hate it.
It just feels.
But I can put it down. I lose my voice a little bit for like 10 seconds too.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'll talk while you guys are trying to get your.
Okay, yeah. Clement, go ahead.
It happens a lot, actually. You know, if you really like the way someone looks and behaves, you know, you find yourself kind of like always not stalking their page necessarily, but in their feed, you're always noticing what they're posting, and you're always liking it because that's what it's for, right? That's what the like button's for. So it's very hard to stop yourself from indulging in someone's like attractiveness, beauty, whatever you want to call it, if it's just there and it's like available. And I think, I don't know. I mean, it happens a lot on social media because social media is so premeditated that you can make photographs so addictive, you know, like men and women. And I'm sure in the lockdown, a lot of people are like really abusing social media and letting their minds go to work because they're frustrated at the lack of interaction. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say, again, it has a lot to do with the context. So if you're a girl and there's some random guy stalking your social media pages, it's because he's thirsty. He thinks you're hot and he thinks he'll get mentioned somehow and has a chance. That's the reason why. Simple as that. Are you filming this? If you know the guy, you know, and maybe you guys are friends, maybe you're dating, maybe you're not, I don't know. You know, he's probably trying to keep up with your life. If he's someone close to you, he's probably just keeping an eye on you, making sure you're doing normal things that you would normally do, not getting yourself in trouble or just probably just trying to keep up with your life. It really depends on the context. If it's a random guy, he's probably just really interested in you and hoping he has a chance of getting your attention.
Yeah, I rarely think that there's times to be concerned about that kind of thing. But this is where I kind of don't understand how some people think. You really shouldn't post too much stuff that's private, right? You shouldn't. I've seen Tinder profiles with like kids in there, like their children are in there. And I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not very safe.
Unless they're looking for a sugar daddy.
Yeah, well, probably. I mean, you know, obviously it's important for someone to know that you've got a child, but I think actually putting a photo of them there, I've seen the first photo as a kid. I'm like, come on, this is not appropriate. We shouldn't be doing this. So yeah, it's just a very strange world that we live in, but just have some common sense and don't give away too much on your profiles. I mean, there's some really popular people out there. Like I was thinking about this just yesterday. I was thinking about how someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's super popular. I mean, one of the most prolific social media personalities. And he doesn't share almost anything about his personal life. I don't think I've ever seen his children or his wife before.
Yeah, so, he doesn't drag his personal life into his business life. And I actually try to take that same aspect to my social media. I try to keep it all about like myself or my brand is about or what I do for work. I don't include people from my family. Very rarely my friends too, but if I do, and then I'm very careful about it just because I don't want to drag someone into whatever's going on in my life. And I just think that should stay separate. A little bit more leniency with friends, but family in particular, I'm very, very careful about it. With that said, there are, you know, huge social media influencers, people that are celebrities and super famous that do share their family though. And, you know, mindset, I guess, is probably different. Like the world probably knows you have kids anyways. Everyone knows who your family is. You're super famous. Like who cares if you share a video of you water sliding with your son or daughter? Yeah. Like who really cares? Like Tom Brady, for example. Tom Brady shares all kinds of stuff about his family and his kids on social media. Not a problem, not an issue. And then guys like Gary Vaynerchuk that just don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
See, as a dancer, I post a lot of dance videos that may be very explicit, I would say. And I did used to date a guy who was very, I would say, insecure about the fact that I post these things.
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay if like maybe a girl who may be a model or a dancer who like maybe doesn't wear pants? I don't know. But what do you guys think of that? Or do you think it's just guys who are insecure about?
As a guy, you know immediately that there are other guys that are looking at you while you wear that stuff, while you do that stuff, eyeballing the shit out of you. Right. So as a woman, you have to understand that as a guy, that makes us very, very, very nervous. Some guys handle that better than others. For me, it wouldn't bother me. That's what you do. That's awesome. You know, but are you doing more than that? Are you dancing with a guy? Is a guy dancing on you? Like how far are you taking this? Some guys are more comfortable and less comfortable than others. So I think you have to weigh that out a bit. You have to be very clear and honest about what you're doing to, you know, give him a sense of comfort and understanding. I think that's about fair.
But what if like you're dancing with a guy as part of a profession?
You have to be very clear about it. That's what you're doing.
If you get involved with someone who has physical interaction with other men, then you're asking for that. That's what you're asking for, and you have to deal with it. And like we talked about earlier, that doesn't always end well. You know, if that's happening behind closed doors and it's just a rehearsal for something or whatever, it can end not well. That's just the rule of life. You know, like physical attraction is real. So, but you know, that it's funny, isn't it? How like in order for you to be okay with your partner having that, like exposure to that many men, you know, or that many women, you have to be okay with yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to be insecure.
Right.
And insecurity will break that relationship down pretty quick. So just anyone who's listening to this, you can't force that kind of, you know, security on yourself. You have to spend the time to really come to terms with the fact that you don't really control anything and you're not owed anything, and that you're actually good enough. Actually, you know, you're good enough as you are. So those things generally tend to breed more confidence, I would say. But yeah, you have to be okay with yourself to not pressure your partner into doing things they don't want to do or being the way that you want them to be, which isn't always the best.
Also,
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Also, you gotta trust that person until you have a reason that you don't trust that person.
Yeah. Start with trust. I would start with trust always.
Yeah.
I think everyone deserves to start with trust. I mean, I think if you've done nothing to wrong somebody, why shouldn't you trust them in the first place?
This is Napoleonic law here. This is not. Yeah.
Getting deep. Philosophical. Some people, a lot of girls in general, say they have trust issues. They have a hard time trusting guys or just trusting people in general because they've been hurt so many times or they've had so many negative experiences with a guy. And I understand that, but I don't think you should also...
You bring your previous relationship into the current one and you're basically sabotaging.
Right. You're essentially what you're doing is you're punishing the male species for something a few guys did to you. And then they are projecting that onto you, and you might not be that bad guy. You might be that good guy or that good girl in that situation. You know, if you have trust issues, you should be aware that you do, and you should work to grow from that. You shouldn't project that onto other people or a potential partner in the future, because to them, that's not fair. They might have done nothing wrong.
Right.
That can cripple a relationship immediately.
Yeah. Plus, it's not even fair for that person. You didn't even give that person a chance. So, yeah.
Yep.
I'm just thinking out loud here, Jen, and I'm just thinking of previous conversation we had. One of the things that I I think doesn't ever end well in a relationship for in terms of like women's how they carry themselves is I don't think it ends well for women in relationships when they're too meek. You know, when they don't have confidence to stand their ground. Like, and I mean, it's different from confidence to be able to poke fun at someone, or confidence to like, it's a certain type of behavior that I feel gives men free rein to do whatever they want. And that's meekness. And I think meekness is a real problem for many women because of, you know, there's a ton of different reasons why a woman would be meek, and maybe previous relationships like Brandon just touched on is one of them. But meekness is so destructive because it's almost like saying, hey, look, I know that you've done something wrong, but I'm not going to put up a fight. Just, you know, don't make a big issue out of it. And I think that never ends well, because then men kind of generally tend to you know, take a little bit here, take a little bit there, and then eventually you've taken the whole thing. And
yeah, there's a degree to which a woman needs to not be quote unquote meek, and needs to be a bit tougher, a bit harder in some ways, needs to stand her ground with her morals and what she believes. Because guys in general will definitely do that. And I think that's where women can get taken advantage of or manipulated. So women definitely need to remember that in a relationship, it's fine to stand your ground. You should hold your beliefs. You shouldn't give in to everything he wants, and neither should he give in to everything you want. I mean, there should be a little back and forth there. It's natural. You know, don't get pushed around. Yeah. There's plenty of girls who allow themselves to be pushed around when they're just as capable of pushing back a little bit and, you know, standing up for what they want and what they believe.
Yeah. I think in my podcast, I mentioned something of how women, maybe this may tie into the topic that we're talking about, or this may be a totally different topic, but women tend to dramatize a lot whenever we're under stress or we want something ASAP. So for example, let's say a girlfriend, she's like, we never go on a cute date. We tend to say the word never, always, something that's very exaggerated. And then a guy would say, or like, so a girl would say, we never go on a cute date. And then in my podcast, I try to translate that for guys. They would say, girls would probably want to say like, oh, I feel like we have been staying home a lot, and I think it would be a great quality time to spend together. Do you think we can go on a nice date? Like, that's a much more friendly, genuine way of asking it. But I feel like a lot of guys take that personally by heart, depending on the guy. Like, he would probably be insecure. He would probably say, we do go on a cute date. And again, that ties back to guys' nature. They want to solve the issue. So they would say, yeah, we do go on a cute date. What are you talking about? We do. Don't say never. But I'm just putting out there that girls tend to dramatize and kind of exaggerate. Whenever. This
is where I'd say the simplicity and complexity of a man versus a woman comes into place. Like, a man would look at that situation and say, well, I've done that before. We've done that at least once. Why are you complaining? We have done it. Don't say we've never done it. Men have a very simple way of looking at it. From the women's perspective, she's overthinking it to the point where she feels like nothing ever happens. Never. And then she approaches the conversation from the standpoint of, you never do this with me. Well, that's not true. I mean, he does. But the conversational topic should be, we need to do this more often, you know, or we need to do something else, or we need to, you know, because, you know, we do the same thing all the time. From the man's perspective, it should be him wanting to launch into something else, or do something again, or want to be explorative, or spontaneous, or adventurous, and all those things. I think that's where the complexity, simplicity issue comes into play a lot.
I think, proactiveness is just really important. And relationships are not always proactive. They actually kind of relax, and they could become kind of inactive in many areas, like, especially when it comes to finding new things to like energize the relationship and keep it interesting. I'm just going to drop like a prop for one of my good friends who is a relationship consultant. His name is Jordan Gray, and he's based in Canada, and he's amazing. And I did online relationship coaching with him. Mm-hmm. And he kind of like helped me see that this is something that you really need to keep, working on. Even when you don't think you need to, you can still kind of like, you still need to go and think, well, what did I do last week? What can I do this week? Make a list of the different things you could maybe do to surprise your partner. Yeah. Because men are just, we're like, I don't know, we're just very focused on something, like, and we'll just put everything into it. Boom, boom, boom. And it's easy for us to lose peripheral vision of like the feelings of our partner. So he helped me understand that this is an ongoing process. And if you really want to have like if you really want to have the relationship that fulfills you, you've got to work on it all the time. It's not something you can just let rest at the side.
Yeah. I'm just speaking to my female audience out there. Watch out the wordings, because it does affect the man a lot. Like, never, always don't say that. Word it out differently next time.
Yeah. Men should also just be aware of that too. And it's hard to avoid that. As a woman, you are like that. As a man, you're like that. So, I mean, it's hard to say to not act like that.
I guess, I guess saying knowledge is power. It's good to know these things in case that happens. So
I'd say having a degree of tolerance and understanding is the most important thing. Like, as a man, understand where a woman's coming from when she's acting like that. Like, there's something that's bothering her. She's not having a good time explaining it to you. She doesn't mean what she's saying. She's just in the moment, a little dramatic. Work through the problem. If you're a woman, slow down, and give a guy a chance to understand what it is that you're trying to communicate to him. Yeah. And good things will happen. Girls don't do that. Guys don't do that. And that's where a lot of problems stem from.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to a relationship, have you ever been to relationship therapy? Either of you? Have you ever had
I was thinking about one, but I didn't do that.
It's interesting. I mean, it can help you see things that you never noticed were going on.
Yeah.
Depending on the person that you're talking to. But I think couples counseling is actually really effective in many situations, for this kind of problem where there's a definite communication issue and there's super frustration. And, you're kind of like reinforcing that disconnect by just pissing each other off over and over and over again. And it's just building up and tension's building up, and then you're going to break up one day. And it's all because of this one small thing that started one time and just snowballed into this thing. So I was just adding on that I think sometimes you need a mediator to help break down what's actually really happening and understand that it's not as bad as you actually think it is,
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it's an issue with both people. Sometimes it's an issue with just one person too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, if you have a partner, to say that the other person you care about has an issue. Like, it's really hard to say something like that and to say that they need to get help. So I think a lot of couples go to couples therapy. They do it together, even though one person doesn't necessarily need it. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of situations where one person has a problem and it's not the other. I don't know. I think that's a really, really complicated situation. That's why they have therapy. That's why they have that as a whole, like, subgroup of psychology. Mm-hmm. They study this all the time. These dynamics get very complicated. Yeah. So I don't think we can boil it down.
Yeah. No. I actually brought it up with my previous relationship, my ex, about going to therapy, but then he got really self-conscious about it. He was like, what is there to be wrong about our relationship? Are you thinking of breaking up with me? All these stupid questions. And that could also be disastrous in a relationship. The fact that
it's like
threatening. Yeah.
It's like asking for a prenup. It's like something you wouldn't want the other person to have to think about, but might be necessary. Yeah. Like saying
the fact that you brought it up was like probably very damaging to their ego.
Yeah.
And they probably were very on the defensive side, like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why what are you saying? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, and they don't want anything to be wrong with them because that means they're not good enough. So I think it's like a very difficult thing to suggest, and finding the right way to do it is different every time. But sometimes you can just say it and they'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Or most of the time you'll say it and there'll be a proper talk about it. You know,
I think a third party can usually determine if it's a joint issue or if it's one person over the other. I think if you use common sense, if one person sits down and says, hey, we have some problems, can we talk? And the other person freaks out. Well, and then, one person has some issues and the other is just trying to figure out the issue. Yeah. Versus if they're constantly going back and forth at each other for absolutely no reason, one person picks on the other for one day and the next day this person's picking on them. And it's just like, there's pent up issues, pent up things that need to be dealt with. And that's when you really need therapy.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay. Going back to
some good stuff.
I feel like you guys have answered a lot of the questions that I wrote down. So
how much we got left?
I mean, there were so many more, but then you guys pretty much answered it in the middle of our conversations.
Well, we can go back to some of them that you haven't read off to us because, it might generate a different idea.
I put 3 cherries in here and I haven't yet tasted cherry.
3?
It's like that, right? You have to pierce them for the flavor to come out, probably.
How does it taste with the cherries and the ice?
Yeah.
I can't taste cherry. That's what I'm saying. So the cherries don't make any difference. They make it look nice, though.
The gin, Clement. How does the gin taste? Good?
Gin. Well, it's mixed with soda water and ginger ale. So I was trying something here, and it tastes great. I really like it. And you can really have the floral taste coming through. So,
do you recommend it as a drink you'd have on a Sunday brunch?
Yes, actually, I would highly recommend it. It's a very light drink, though, isn't it? Okay, wait. Let me just rephrase it.
You say light?
It's a very strong alcohol, but the flavor, when you mix it with soda water and when you mix it with ice and, like some fruit, which is what you're supposed to do with gin, it tastes really light. It's not like drinking a Scotch whiskey, which has a very strong flavor. Right. When you mix this with something, it's...
Gin's got an interesting flavor. I could probably do gin on ice or gin in a cocktail, no problem. But if I'm going to drink it all the time, I don't know if I could do it. Scotch I like, because Scotch at least has like this malty flavor to it, this whiskey-ish, barrel-ish flavor. I don't know. There's something good about like a good Scotch on ice. Like it's very smooth. I would not want to do shots of Scotch. We did that, and that's not going to happen again.
We did that more than once, I think, didn't we? Or what? Anyway.
Well, I'll do it for the show, but I'm not going to do it in real life. This is.
If I walk into a bar one day and you're just standing there taking shots of whiskey, I know there's something wrong.
Yeah. If I go to the bartender, I'm like, give me a Jameson. You'll know something's wrong with me.
Did we miss anything, Jen?
There's one that something that we didn't talk about. I'm not sure, but
we can go back to some questions that you think we might have answered. Because we might have some other ideas on them too. We can expand on some stuff.
Why? Because I know we talked about something about a girl with a really great body can be considered a slut and a whore. And digging more into that, there's a question like, why, if a girl sleeps with several guys, she is considered a slut/whore, but guys brag about getting bitches all the time?
This is a good topic. This is actually a good one. It's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. That's just how, pop culture portrays it. That's how we see it. Guys think it's okay. Guys think it's wrong when girls do it. Girls feel ashamed for doing it when they shouldn't.
I think girls are probably shamed for it because men probably start to get insecure about that to a certain degree. There's a whole reason, and this is really going deep. Actually, I should be careful about the things I say, but there's probably a reason why many religions are suppressive on women, and it's because the men just want them to play the game. Like, do your thing that you're supposed to do, and let us just, have what we want because we're, dominant. But I think on a certain level, women are kind of like called sluts. And I suppose the male term would be fuckboys, but that's just recent, isn't it? But I think that's a real thing probably because on a certain level, there's a bit of insecurity there from men. So I don't think there's a problem with it. I think it's totally fine. And I think women should be allowed to explore themselves sexually, just like men. Yeah.
I think we should just be fair. I mean, like if men are going to act like that, I mean, we just call men what they are. I mean, I guess the appropriate term is fuck boy instead of slut, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It is the same
thing. So, I mean, we should just call it what it is. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I mean, if that's what a guy wants to do, and then that's what he should be called. If that's what a girl wants to do, and then that's what she'll end up being called. But I mean, you shouldn't generalize and say that it's okay for a man to do it, and a woman not to. If a woman wants to explore herself sexually or have experiences, kiss a lot of frogs per se, let her. That's fine. If guys can do it, why can't a woman do it? There's something terribly wrong about saying that a woman is a slut or a hoe for doing that, but a guy isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think women should be careful about getting involved with a guy who starts to become controlling.
Yeah.
It's a big red flag, actually. Super big red flag. I don't think that's going to end well at all anytime.
Mm-mm. Yeah, but I feel like girls, they tend to go after the fuckboys, even though they know the fuckboys are, horrible people.
Yeah, there's an issue where, at least I think it's an issue, where girls seem to want the thing that they probably shouldn't want sometimes. I see it a lot of the time. I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there, but there's a reason why the good guy doesn't usually get the girl. It's because it's not exciting to a girl. But a lot of girls, especially when they're younger, they want something that's exciting.
Mm.
The bad boy, the fuck boy, the guy that, is arrogant or does treat her like shit. They're somewhat excited from that. It's attractive to them to a degree. Is it someone they want to marry? Of course not. They definitely have some sort of attractiveness because of the excitement.
I think that also boils down to anthropology as well. It's like that male who is the one who's with most of the women probably, right, is the one who's perceived as the most attractive by women because that's just the way it works socially, hierarchically. So that's probably one of the reasons why. But in my old age, I've noticed that women are generally tending to my age or younger are starting to kind of like wisen up and want a more stable person. And I think it's just an age thing, really, most of the time.
I think the generation that'll come after us, I think they'll be much different because we'll be their parents in a lot of respects, and we'll have those experiences, as a girl getting screwed over by a bunch of fuckboys and guys that are assholes.
Yeah, I think it's just a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, and then there'll be a bunch of guys out there that have experiences with women too, and I think that stuff will get passed down generationally, and I think guys and girls will be very different by the time they're our age when they grow up in 10, 15, 20 years. So, I mean, the dynamics might be completely different. Completely outdated by that time. I'm sure they were completely different from my parents and my grandparents who, had access to different mediums of exchange in terms of technology and, how you communicate with people and stay in touch and build relationships, destroy relationships. So I think it'll just change completely. I mean, what happens when we have VR as a staple in real life? Is that going to be cheating if you meet a girl in VR or you meet a guy in VR or you have a relation with a robot, or like we're getting to some really weird points where, I think social dynamics and relationships are going to be tested quite a bit.
Well, fantastic.
Is it cheating if a robot looks real, like a real woman, and you have sex with it? Is that cheating?
Well,
is it
like if your vibrator is like just a fully formed humanoid?
A vibrator is like a robot in some ways.
I'm just playing with my vibrator, and it's like yes, come here, Jen. We're just going to be a while. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be different, isn't it?
Would a robot be considered a sex toy or something autonomous? Right?
And does your
that
sex
gets really weird, right?
Self-awareness yet? Or
what does that say about the relationship if you're having sex with this robot girl that looks like a real girl?
Look, I think, just on the topic of this, like, I just want to say, like, if you're in a relationship and your partner is more interested in toys than having sex with you, then there's definitely a problem there, that you need to address.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I
Which
know.
is a totally different episode. That's more oriented around intimacy and.
Yeah. Never mind that.
Yeah.
People these days, they dive into relations with other people and flirt with other people through social media and whatnot. I mean, there'll be other mediums where people do that with like VR and AR and other forms of communication when they come out. So I think that'll be.
You want to find someone that's going to do the right thing when no one's looking. That's basically who you want to find.
It's hard. Again, when you have all this stimulus around you, it's very hard. As a guy, everywhere you look,
there's an epidemic of FOMO right now, isn't there? There's an epidemic of just like, choice, just too much choice. There's like, what if I'm missing out of, on this? And I think FOMO is really going to be one of the biggest challenges for commitment in relationships in this generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when frickin' Kit Carson goes out on the frontier in the 1800s and he leaves a girl behind, I mean, it's the last girl he's going to see for probably 5 or 6 months anyways. It's not a big deal. He knows he's coming home to wifey no matter what. But like nowadays, it's like I go onto my Instagram and I just go onto my featured page and shit. And there's tons of girls on there. And it's impossible not to look. Like it's there. And for girls, there's probably tons of photos of guys in a lot of cases. You're just inundated with this stuff from all kinds of angles all the time. Like as a guy, I can't go anywhere without seeing tits or an ass. It's everywhere. As a girl, you can't go anywhere without seeing a guy with a six pack or that looks good or that looks attractive. It's everywhere.
It was only ever in like music videos before when we were growing up.
Yeah, that's
now,
it.
And even then people were like, oh, so that's lewd and, you shouldn't be doing that. And now it's like on everybody's phone, including the younger kids have access to this too.
Well, sex sells. They market sex heavily. That's why you see it everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And it creates problems.
Yeah.
It creates problems. We're going to see what those problems look like in 20 years from now.
Yeah, we'll see how fucked up or successful our kids become.
Also, I think in a relationship, you should admit the fact that there are attractive men/women out in public. So you should not feel any insecure about that. Guys will just naturally look at girl with big tits or big ass, and girls will just naturally look at guy with chiseled abs or whatever they look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think reassurance is also important. Yeah. I feel like in a relationship, that doesn't happen as often. Yeah, you might spend a lot of time together. Yeah, sometimes you might fight, but I feel like very often does a guy tell a girl or a girl tell a guy that they're more important, that they would never do anything or something like that. They don't reassure their partner. Yeah. If you're fighting one day and then you're really friendly with that girl serving you frozen yogurt, it's going to make her pretty mad.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If a girl's pissed at you and she's really nice to the hot yoga instructor dude, you're going to get a little pissy and jealous about that. Mm-hmm. The reassurance thing is very important in a relationship to do.
Yeah, definitely mentioned that in my podcast. So give it a listen. No, just kidding.
Well, if you remember, what did you talk about in your podcast regarding that? Reassurance.
Reassurance. So I said like the little things that a guy can do can make a woman really happy, such as I brought up a scenario. Maybe let's say a guy is going out shopping for food or snacks. It would be nice if a guy calls her saying, hey, what do you want me to buy for you? What do you want me to pick up? And it just reassures that you think about her as well, not just your own shit. Yeah. Or another one is Well, this kind of goes down to communication. I mentioned something like if you go on a date, maybe you're in one place and the girl's in the other place, and the girl is just there waiting for you, but then you somehow got into like a really heavy traffic. You have to like let her know, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late because of this traffic. Just communication is key to everyone.
I feel like a lot of this is about finding the joy in bringing your partner a better experience, like or pleasure or fulfillment. It's about finding that as being one of the most important things to you, and nurturing that, because if you don't already feel that way, it's really hard to just make a habit out of it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. You don't want to be a robot and like, oh God, I got to do this thing again for my partner. It's more like, you know, you're actively thinking about it all the time. Like, how can I make her feel like more appreciated? How can I make it? Because her joy brings you pleasure. That's actually really what it is just getting that, you know.
Yeah. Well, if it's really genuine, then her joy does bring you pleasure, or his joy brings you pleasure. Like, it should go both ways. Like, a girl shouldn't sit there and say, well, is he going to do anything with me? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, she can take initiative too.
Yeah.
I think that's something that gets a little misconstrued, but
and
what was I going to say? Well,
let me say something while you're thinking about that. But I think Brandon and I have talked about this. We talked about the 5 love languages. I know you've taken it, right, Brandon? But I don't know if Clement, have you heard about anything about 5 love languages? Yeah. Do you believe in that kind of stuff, or do you think it's just not accurate?
I mean, it's one way, isn't it, of kind of categorizing the spectrum of what we do to show affection. And I mean, I know that I'm already physical touch. It's the first one. And my second one is words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. So I can relate to it fully. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's very helpful too. It's like the Myers-Briggs, right? I mean, if you can use it to help, but you can't use it to absolutely identify someone. Right. But it definitely helps to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So in a relationship, if you know what your partner is most looking for in terms of how you show your affection, then you're going to be able to gear what your actions are towards them, and it'll probably end up being a lot more better accepted. So I do agree with it. I just don't think it's an absolute way of categorizing someone.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought up Myers-Briggs, because I was going to do that. It's science's way of creating a measuring stick for these kinds of things. Like with personality typing, for example, the Myers-Briggs chart is a way of measuring someone based on their personality type, how they interact, how they socialize, how they don't socialize, how they think. And it's fairly accurate and very handy for a lot of people to reference, but it's not perfect. It's just a measuring stick. It's like saying that you can measure the size of a cell using a ruler. You can. I mean, you can measure with a ruler, but it's not to scale. Everything's a little different, right? So, yeah, the 5 love language thing is very popular right now. It's a scale, a measuring stick of some sorts for love and relationships, but while it has some accuracy, it's not perfect.
What are you guys on the 5 love languages?
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly.
My top one is quality time. And then the second one is, I think it's physical touch. And the third one is words of affirmation. Right.
Yeah. I think I just generally tend to see a lot more women having quality time as the number 1. Yeah. And a lot more men having physical touch as the number 1.
Right.
But, I think, everyone obviously likes all of them. It's just prioritizing them, and that helps a lot in a relationship to know how to show affection. And it also it also helps outside of intimate relationships, like even in family relationships. Like,
sure.
I used to think my dad never showed me love, but then looking at that way of measuring it, I know that his way of showing love is through gifts first and foremost. So if I look back now, I think, yeah, he showed a lot of love actually. And if you realize that, then it's powerful stuff. You can change the way you completely interact with someone, because now all of a sudden you appreciate them a lot more.
Yeah, I think it depends on the quiz you take too, because I didn't like some of the questions, because I personally find myself as someone that doesn't like gifts. Like I really don't like getting gifts from someone. Like if someone did something for me, like bought me something or made something, I mean, of course, yeah, it has some value to me. Of course, it's very nice they did that, but don't do it all the time. I really don't like gifts.
Yeah.
But
Buying anything for your birthday.
well, my birthday's an exception, I guess. You want to give me a gift, go for it. But it was asking a bunch of questions on like, what if someone went out of their way for you? Like if they went out of their way to drive you somewhere, they went out of their way to make sure you got food today, or, you know, just did something that they didn't have to do. It was categorizing that as a gift, and I don't think that's correct.
That's why you've got to understand what your partner's way of showing affection is too. So it's like their receiving might be different from their showing. And
yeah, I was very confused if that was like showing like gift giving or an act of service. Like an act of service, I find very valuable. If someone's going to do an act of service for you, I mean, I appreciate it more than anything. It's not that I expect it, but it means a lot. Gifts don't mean as much. I mean, it does, but don't do it all the time.
For me. Yeah.
I made a joke on my podcast where my gift giving is on the bottom of the list. And I made a joke of how, like, if a guy gives me flowers, then I would say something like, well, the flower dies, meaning that this relationship is going to die at some point. So, yeah, don't give me flowers, guys. Yeah.
Girls less and less are liking flowers. I think it's a trend.
Not liking flowers or liking flowers?
Not liking flowers. I know a lot of girls that don't like flowers.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's become overly cliche.
Really?
I just don't like it. At least from my experience. I could be wrong.
It's possible. I mean, I know a lot of girls that like flowers, so I don't know. If
every girl I've met, for the most part, is like, I only like a certain flower, or I don't like flowers at all. And I'm just like, well, I'm not buying you flowers ever. You can just get chocolate.
Oh yeah, chocolate. Oh my gosh.
Chocolate doesn't go out of style. Girls love chocolate.
Food doesn't go out of style. Give us food.
Yeah.
that would be weird if it went out of style. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to bring a girl flowers or In-N-Out. I guarantee you the guy that brings her In-N-Out is going to get laid every time.
Yeah, but like Instagram, hello.
Yeah.
No flowers. All right, what else is on the list? What other questions are on there? Actually, I'm going to take a shot while you do that.
You don't have to. Man. It's good. This is a good drink. I like this. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad I'm not doing what you're doing.
Oh, this shit burns. This is a bit much.
Yeah, I'm not drinking. I'm not going to do that right now.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Didn't Brandon tell you that I already suggested we should do cocktails, or was he just like, did he keep stum about it?
He didn't mention about cocktails. Did you?
Oh, no.
That's not true. I said you could make a cocktail.
Okay.
You still can if you want to. You got that cranberry juice.
Then
or not.
I guess being less prepared.
Classic Brandon.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
Well,
My bladder can only hold so much of this, by the way.
My liver can only take so much.
Well, we already discussed kind of something like, why do some guys think it's not okay to show feelings / emotions like crying and etc.?
Oh, that's an interesting one too.
That's a deep subject, to be honest.
I think some of it has to do with being masculine. Men do grow up being told they need to be tough and they need to suck things up. A lot of that comes from upbringing, father figures, even mother figures. Mothers make you be very tough too. Sports is a huge area where, there's a lot of guys involved all the time. A lot of guys get into sports, and, you're taught these values where you have to be tough, you have to suck shit up, and you have to just not be a baby, not be a pussy about it. I know I've definitely been drilled down about that stuff my entire life. I know a lot of other guys have, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Men don't want to be seen as the weak link, and definitely in a male environment, that you're hardly ever going to see a guy crying, because it's just something that they wouldn't want to risk being socially kind of degraded like that.
Yeah. Well, this is where emotional intelligence comes in, I think.
Right.
I mean, as a guy, you should learn to find a way to open up to how you feel. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be a crybaby all the time, but if you have strong feelings about something, you feel like you need to find a time and place to do it, with someone or alone or whatever makes you feel better. On the other side of the coin, women tend to be much more emotional naturally. It's a lot easier for them. But some women show their emotions at times when they should not show their emotions. So this comes back to emotional intelligence, where you need to learn how to show your emotions, how to understand someone else's emotions, but at the same time to show it at the right time. Like if you're in a meeting with your boss, you shouldn't be crying, bawling your eyes out because he got mad at you because you didn't have a good day. I mean, you should go in the bathroom and cry it out for 10 minutes and then come back a rock star. Like you need to, let it out at the right time. You need to be smart about it, direct it the right way, around the right people. Most people aren't good at that. Some people just let their emotions flow too much. So, I think
there's a couple of, it's a trend right now actually to talk about this. One of my first clients, Lewis Howes, has written a book called The Mask of Masculinity. And that's been, I think, really widely well received. And then there's another guy who, I seem to forget his name, but he wrote something called Cry Like a Man, which is another really best-selling book. So it's currently like trending, in my opinion, about how men are needing to show their emotions more. Whether that's crying or not is another thing. But I forget what your question was, but like in terms of men just sucking things up, like Brandon said, it's kind of hardwired into us, it's just the way that we operate, and that's the way society needs us to operate to a great extent. But nowadays we're kind of evolving in the way that we show our emotion. And it's because we realize how important it is to show emotion.
The question was like, do you
that much over history when we've kept it inside at times when we could have let it out. I don't want to say any names, Adolf Hitler, but there's been times when we could have probably avoided a lot of the shit that happened. Yeah.
Personally, I think being vulnerable is attractive in a guy, so I don't really mind a guy crying, whether it's at a wrong timing. It just shows that you feel comfortable around me and you trust me and that you believe me that I can make it better. I don't know from other women's perspective, but for me personally, I think it's actually attractive.
I think, it might be attractive for women. I can understand why. But I think, as a woman, if a guy is crying and opening up to you like that, and guys really don't do that, then you should know that he really, really trusts you on a deeper level. Right. Guys don't do that. Guys always try to keep their cool no matter what. And yes, guys do cry. You just don't see it. So if a guy does that in front of you, and he doesn't do that in front of his other friends either. Guys trying to be tough all the time. He doesn't do that in front of his friends. If he's doing that in front of you, that means you're important to him.
Or you kick him really hard.
So take advantage of that and be there for him if you're a woman.
Right. All right. Well, I have one more, the last one.
How long have we been going? What time is it?
Going on for 3 shots worth of
3 shots. We started at 12 my time. It's 1:49. Almost 2 hours. Yeah.
This has been a really packed episode. It's been really good.
Yeah,
I know, it's really good. Really, really insightful. All right, let's do this one more. One last question, I guess.
Very straightforward, or maybe not. It's just, what are your biggest turn-ons and biggest turn-offs in a girl?
Turn-ons and turn-offs. Okay.
I you know what? I'll be honest with you. Like, okay, so physically, I like a woman who is strong, not like super strong, not like a looking like a man or anything, but I like a bit of muscle in a woman. I like a bit of an athletic build. So there's a lot of girls out there who are like, oh, I don't want my legs to look big, or I don't want, you know what I mean? But honestly, I think a lot of men like that. I really do. And I think definitely nowadays when you see a lot of Instagram related stuff promoting, female fitness and just, them just crushing it completely, it's becoming a lot more widely accepted for women to have more muscular frames. And I actually generally find it very attractive. I feel like it's like they're a lot more capable. They're a lot more engaged, and that's attractive to me. So physically, that's what I'm attracted to. Other things I'll go into next, but what about you?
Okay, we can do this one at a time. I think physically, I'm attracted to someone that takes care of themselves. Like, I don't think there's like a set standard for me. And I think a lot of guys might agree in terms of like what a girl has to look like. I think, again, we get inundated with sex all the time because sex sells. They market it heavily all the time. What a guy should like, what a guy should find attractive. But I mean, reality, yeah, we want that stuff. We want a girl that's, thin with big tits and a nice ass and a beautiful face physically. It's not necessarily what we look for. I mean, we're all attracted to different things. We find everything in between a little bit attractive. But to me, it's like, is a girl taking care of herself? Like, is she like, overweight and like sitting on the couch all day, not doing anything? Is she in the gym busting her ass off? Like, if she's a little bit overweight, maybe a little bit insecure, and at some point in her life where she's not right where she wants to be, but she's working her ass off, that's attractive to me. I mean, is there a girl that just has the perfect body no matter what and doesn't work on herself and just sits on the couch all day? That's not attractive. So, I mean, I think it kind of depends. To me, it's like, are you trying to take care of yourself? You're trying to be healthy. Like, and
there's also like on the other side of that, there's also women I've met that are really physically attractive, but they don't really do anything. Like they're not making an effort in other areas of their life. They might look great, but they're so unattractive, like so ugly, for lack of a better phrase, for not having the will to just like actually earn something for themselves. And so I think entitlement is really unattractive to me,
that can be unattractive too. Another thing I like about a girl a lot is if I gave them a choice between a salad and a burger, which one would they choose? Like, I would take the girl that chose the burger every single time. Like, I want a girl that'll eat with me, like, explore, have a good time. Like, there's nothing unattractive about that. I think that's a huge misunderstanding.
Unless they eat too many burgers, which
that's them not being healthy. That's them not taking care of themselves. But I mean, a girl that, knows how to balance that stuff out, that takes care of themselves, works on themselves, on their body, on their mindset, personality. And then, all that aside, is also willing to go get a burger with you or have some sushi or have a basket of fries or I don't know, just, be a normal person. That stuff is nice too. Like, I don't want a girl that's super picky all the time and only wants to eat a salad because she's worried about her waist. That's not attractive to me.
Yeah.
I don't think that's attractive to most guys either, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's good. That's attractive.
Oh, and you're talking to two men here. Let's just take a moment to notice the sample size here. It's like there's two of us here, so our views are a very small spectrum of what's really going on.
That's true.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys would agree, though. I mean, there's a difference between how guys act and how guys aspire to be in a lot of ways. I think most guys out there would agree with a lot of things we're saying. I think we're being pretty honest about some of that stuff, especially with a girl not wanting to eat a salad and wanting to eat a burger or something like that. I think that's pretty true. It's really boring when you go to eat with all your friends and you bring your girlfriend with you and all she has is a salad. It's more impressive when she eats. I don't know. There's something attractive about that. Eat. Please eat, women. Eat.
Let's have that burger. Okay.
Have that burger and then let's go to the gym together. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I balance it out.
And then next time we're going to be asking you all these questions.
Ooh. I'm ready. I'm actually ready.
You will represent the female species.
Every woman that's ever lived.
Every woman that has ever lived from every time period.
Oh, boy.
Ever lived. No pressure.
Oh my gosh. Girls are complicated though. So
girls are complicated, which is why guys would love to understand why.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
You will be.
Maybe we can get 2 girls on to even it out a little bit.
Yes.
We can Jen and another girl.
Just fill up that extra gap here that we have.
Yeah. Maybe someone who has different beliefs or opinions. That could be very interesting.
Yeah. Or at least so you guys can go back and forth with ideas like Clem and I kind of are when you're asking questions women have about men. I think we'd want a really structured response from women as well. So maybe we can get 2 women on next time, Jen and another lovely gal.
I can invite a friend over if you want.
Let's do it. I'm game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a good one. Yeah. We'll come up with our own cheeky questions too. But yeah, I think it was really good. That was such a long show. I think that's the longest one we've done so far, right?
We definitely did an episode for 2 hours. So this one's going to be pretty close, but This definitely was a really packed episode. I know Jen was a little worried about us not being able to extend 10 questions. And I was like, Jen, Clement and I talk about a single question, a single topic forever. I promise it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So,
it was really great. He asked some amazing questions. They were very controversial in a way that, we need to be very careful about how we answer them. But I think we did a decent job.
Yeah. I feel like we walked the line carefully with some of those questions and did them honestly, which is the most important part. Because this is for the benefit of women out there that have questions on men. Mm-hmm. And I think Clemens and I are representing most of the male species out there. And so we want to be very honest.
Our best.
I don't know. I think it was very valuable. A lot of good things came out of it. Went through a lot of different topics. This monkey's crazy.
You don't want to do another shot?
One more shot to send it off. All right.
All right. I'm such a bad influence. All right. Yeah. One more shot to send it off.
Actually, Clement, you should do a shot to send it off.
Oh, that's a lot. No.
I don't have a shot glass, but
Jen, just do what you're okay with. You don't have to push yourself.
I didn't mean to pour a lot, but I did.
Well, you can put a little back if you want. I know this is really strong, so be smart. Clemens, maybe you should give it a shot. Just why not?
Straight out the box.
For the experience.
Any more juice? Hold on.
Okay.
Waiting on Jen.
You can see the discomfort in my face already.
Discomfort in your face. You can see my soul.
I think I have the Asian glow too. I don't know. Okay, I'm ready.
Do you get Asian glow?
Sometimes.
Asian glow?
Sometimes.
This glow? All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh. It's like I've got a forest growing in my stomach.
Yeah, but a whole garden just sprouted in the back of my throat.
Gonna wash it down with some monkey. Oh, woo. I'm not.
See, the thing with Monkey 47, or at least gin in general, it's like, it kind of sucks to throw it back, but it's the aftertaste. It just lingers. It's like you have a real flower growing back there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, that's the beauty of gin, though. That's the beauty of gin. I love it. Well,
okay.
That wraps up our episode number 10. 10 was a good one.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Came on board, Jen. That was changed things up a lot. So thank you.
Thank you for
having clap me. For Jen.
And I don't know what we're doing next episode, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll come up with something cool. I don't know. Episode 11 is kind of an awkward follow-up to 10, but we'll have something fun. And we'll let you know what we're drinking then. And Jen, thank you for taking the time to come on and represent the female species.
Thank you.
The other half. Yeah. We really appreciate it. You did awesome. Good friend of mine. Love to have you on again at some point, maybe with another woman, do something cool. I think this was a really good topic. I'm glad we did it. because I think it was very valuable, and probably do it for men and get the same out. So let's definitely do that again in the future.
For sure.